We have people do all kinds of crazy things to get customers taken care of. And I know a lady was in the checkout line at Walmart and her debit card wouldn't work one day. And a lady that runs our debit card department got the cash out of her account for her with the customer's permission, of course, and drove that to Walmart and delivered it to the customer. I mean, we just do whatever it takes to get the customer taken care of. And I think that's unique in today's banking environment.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce Dallin Deucer with the Baptist St. Anthony's Healthcare System, who will give our invocation.
We come before you, our God, and just thank you for this day, for all the hours and the length of time that our city commission and mayor put in for the good of our area. We ask for your wisdom and guidance as they continue to plan the new budget for the coming year. Also, for all of the decisions that will be made, we entrust them to you, our mighty God. Look after all of us in this area and please grant beneficial rains to those parched, dry lands in our states. We come before you in our faith and belief in who you are for each of us. We pray all of this with faith and trust. Amen.
Would you join me in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a proclamation to read, so we'll come down first. Just a second.
Is there somebody here from Atlas?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
Hi, Kelvin.
I am.
Hi, Kelvin.
Hi, Kelvin. How are you doing?
Well,
How are you, sir?
Okay, I'm going to read the proclamation and then I'm going to turn it over to you, okay?
Stages.
I know. We'll turn the mic over to you and the proclamation.
It'll be short and sweet.
Okay. It says, whereas the leading cause of harm to underground facilities is excavation damage, and whereas pipeline operations and other underground facility owners are committed to raising the awareness of underground damage prevention and safe digging practices, and whereas everyone has a responsibility to ensure their safety, and whereas dedication to safe digging practices is helping prevent potentially serious or fatal injuries while keeping our environment clean and our utilities on without interruption, and whereas the date of August 11 corresponds to the nationwide one-call number, 811, which provides anyone planning to excavate a simple, easy way to contact the State Underground Notification Center, and whereas once a call is made to the one-call notification center, the appropriate underground facility operators are notified to the person's intent to dig, professional locators are then sent to the requested digging site to mark the appropriate locations of underground lines with flags, spray paint, or both. And whereas striking a single line can cause injury, repair cost, fines, and inconvenient outages. And whereas throughout the support of the pipeline industry, the first nationwide 811-day media effort promoting the Call Before You Dig program will air ads during the 2010 Olympic Games. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Commissioners of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim August 11, 8/11/2012 as 8/11 Safe Digging Day in Amarillo, and encourages all citizens to call 811 before digging. There you go. Here's the proclamation.
Thank you, ma'am.
And you're welcome to take the mic.
Okay. Are you sure you want to do that?
For a moment.
Sure.
On behalf of Baptist Energy, I'd like to thank the City Commission of Amarillo, Texas for helping us raise the level of awareness for damage to underground facilities, not only our facilities, but all underground facilities. It is very costly and quite dangerous for people to dig up gas lines. So we have undertaken with 50 other pipeline companies an effort to raise that level of awareness nationwide by what was just read. And We just appreciate the City of Amarillo and the Amarillo City Commission for what they've done today. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Good afternoon. Before we call the meeting to order, I would like to ask us to keep in our thoughts and prayers Gary Witt, a city employee who passed away. Performing his job, there was a terrible accident, and I think that we sometimes don't consider the dangers our city employees face each day in something that looks like as innocuous as a tire changer, but from that clear up to the firemen and policemen, our city employees are very dedicated, so we want to thank them. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission held on the third floor of City Hall this Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. The first item of business on today's agenda is the minutes. Attached is a copy of the minutes. Please, if you'll Commission take a look. Those minutes are in regards to July 31st, 2012. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Mayor, I would move for approval of those minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of the minutes as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7344. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance adopting the 2012-2013 budget and 5-year service plan, along with establishing and levying an annual property assessment for Point West Public Improvement District, PID. The Point West PID is located adjacent to the Amarillo Medical Center in West Amarillo. The ordinance is recommended for approval by unanimous vote of the Point West Public Improvement District Board of Directors. We went over this last week. Are there any questions from the audience in regards to this bid? Any from the commission? Not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 7344.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of ordinance number 7344 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7345. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance adopting the 2012-2013 budget and 5-year service plan, along with establishing and levying annual property tax or property assessment of the Tutbury Public Improvement District, PID. The Tutbury PID is located in the Tutbury subdivision of Southwest Amarillo. This ordinance is recommended for approval by unanimous vote of the Tutbury Public Improvement District Board of Directors. Are there any questions regarding ordinance number 7345 from the audience or from the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7345.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of ordinance number 7345 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7346. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance adopting the 2012-2013 budget and 5-year service plan, along with establishing and levying an annual property assessment for the Colonies Public Improvement District, PID. Colonies PID is located in the Colony subdivision of Southwest Amarillo. This ordinance is recommended for approval by unanimous vote of the Colonies Public Improvement District Board of Directors. Are there any questions about the Colonies PID ordinance number 7346 from the audience? From the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 7346.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for ordinance number 7346. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7347. This is a second and final reading of an ordinance amending the boundaries of the existing city ordinance that prohibits open alcohol containers in outdoor public places within the Central Business District, CBD. The proposed changes to Chapter 10-3 of the Municipal Code would expand the boundaries currently in ordinance as follows. north railroad tracks south 15th Avenue, west Washington and Adams Street, and east the railroad tracks existing. The conditions under which open alcohol containers are regulated will remain as it's stated in the present ordinance. The second change proposed by this ordinance would revise the number and location of festivals allowed in the CBD by clarifying that up to 8 shall be allowed per year in the areas bound by South 3rd Avenue and to the north and South 12th Avenue to the south. Are there any questions or comments from the audience about ordinance number 7347? Any from the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I would move for approval of ordinance number 7347.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second for ordinance number 7347. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. The consent agenda. It's recommended the following items be approved: that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for the transaction. A, the purchase of Microsoft licenses on enterprise agreement. B, the purchase of sod for River Road ball field. C, the acceptance of Consolidated Texas Department of State Health Services Grant Cooperative Agreement. D, the approval addendum for the independent contractor agreement, contractor Patricia Ladd. And E is the dedication and acceptance. Are there any items that need to be removed for separate consideration by the commission? Any items that need to be commented on by the audience or by the commission? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. We now have a presentation on the 2012 Every Drop Counts Be Water Wise update. This presentation is will provide an overview of the year-to-date water usage in Amarillo and continue conservation and education efforts. And I believe, Emmett, you're going to present that?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Okay. This is Mr. Emmett Autry, the head of our water department.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. We have set a new record this past month that I would rather not have seen. But as you can see there on the first slide, at the bottom, in July of 2012, set an all-time monthly consumption for any month of the year at something under 2.4 billion gallons of water. Last year, we set the previous record, which was 2.345. So if you'll be seeing on the next slide what happened in July. You know, this had been a rather easy to present graph in the past, and you can see that we tracked quite closely January through June with the average line, which is the blue-green line, all the way through June. We did manage to have a little over 7 inches of rainfall in the first 6 months of the year, which helped that a lot. But in July, it just took off and punched a hole in the top of the 2011 chart. So we could get discouraged by that, or we could just commit a little bit more to get the word out. I will say that we had a couple more occurrences in the month of August, the 2nd and 3rd, that were above 90 million. But ever since then, we've dropped into the upper 70s and very low 80s. And nothing has really changed with respect to the weather. And so I'd like to give credit to the people of Amarillo who have responded to our pleas to help under the voluntary plan that's in effect right now, or stage that's in effect right now. I hope that continues. And let's see the next slide. So just looking at a few facts about this, water consumption exceeded 80% of the system capacity for the last 5 days in July. And that did trigger the stage 1 drought contingency plan conditions that we're under right now. The City of Amarillo implemented stage 1 late Wednesday, August 1st. We not only set a monthly record, we also set a single day record for all time. Again, unfortunately, the previous high record that we are certain of is about 89 million, but there was supposed to have been a 91 million back in the early 90s. I was not here to witness that. But we reached 92.1 million gallons on the 31st of July. And all of that falls into the 5 days in a row above 80 that brings on stage 1, excuse me. Lord forbid that it be stage 5. August 4th, the consumption dropped to 77.2, very encouraging. I believe the following day it was 80.9, and then yesterday it dropped down into the 70s again. So we're seeing a trend, I hope, in a good direction. As far as water usage, I think I need to explain a little bit where we come up with our number for system capacity, because the fundamental method by which we go into stage 1 or any other stage in the drought contingency plan, the fundamental method is to see what percentage of our total production capacity have we reached. Excuse me. And we, in order to initiate a stage, we have to exceed that point, equal or exceed that point as a percentage of capacity for 5 days consecutive. And we did do that the last 5 days of July, and for a couple of days after that, as a matter of fact. This is where we get calculate our system capacity, the one that's on the screen right now. The well water that we get from CRMWA, 26 million in that range. That is our allocation for Roberts County water. As you well know, we do not have a lake, so therefore there's 20 plus, 25, 27 if the lake's in good condition that we could be getting and we're not getting, and I'm just thankful that we have Potter County on land, because this could have been a severe problem over the last few days if we did not have the Potter County well field. Carson County well field, which is 54, 55 years old, we depend on it for 36 million gallons per day. On a good day, it might do a little more. The water from Potter County well field is 20 million gallons per day, and I'm sitting here thinking, did you just say Potter for Carson County? But I don't think I did. We have what we call the Southwest wells. There's over 50 of those, and they're capable of 9 million gallons per day. And then we have our reservoir at 34th and Eastern, which can hold up to 500 million gallons of water. That's a 500 million gallons of water in that reservoir. And at this time of the year, we believe that we can draw it down at a maximum rate of 10 million gallons per day depletion, and that will get us to mid-September, which would get us beyond any kind of crisis that we've ever had in the history of Amarillo. We have never had a September that went over 2 billion like the previous 4 months have done. So we're confident that by drafting that extra source, that additional source, that we can get 10 million gallons per day through the rest of the potential threat. And we do the math on that. If we start drawing down earlier, we draw down less per day. And so that depletes our source a little bit earlier in the summer if we draw down heavily on it. Okay, next slide, please. This is kind of, unfortunately, I think my font size is a little bit on the small side there. But what brought about the drought contingency plan? That's what I'd like to talk about for another few minutes here. I'm not on a 3-minute timer, am I, Mayor?
No, sir.
Because I just busted it. Okay, so in 1997, we had a severe drought in Texas, especially downstate, and a lot of cities down there. Some cities literally ran out of water. Their lakes went dry, and they had to run pipes from other supplies. Throckmorton is a good example of that. Lake Throckmorton went dry. They had to get water from another utility to the east of there. They laid the pipe on top of the ground. So it was pretty severe. So the legislature got involved, and they said to the TCEQ, come up with some kind of drought plan. We've got to have a drought plan. We've got to know in writing how to respond to drought. And that's what we're talking about today. That was in 1997. So by the time that 1999 rolled around, drought plans were being completed and submitted to TCEQ, including the city of Amarillo's first DCP, is what I would refer to it as, Drought Contingency Plan. Amarillo's first DCP was in 1999, as you can see at the bottom of the page there, of the screen. We had amendments in 2001, 2010, and 2011, and you'll remember the one from last year. So those are amendments, but we also had legislated, if you will, or regulated revisions in 2004 and 2009. That clock stays the same. If we do an amendment, it does not change the revision clock. It comes about every 5 years. So our next revision is due in 2014. So just to give you a heads up on that. What must the DCP contain? Just reading very quickly there, you can see some of the things that must be in the drought contingency plan. It's a pretty significant list. What I'd like to do on the next 2 or 3 slides is just pick out some of those and add a little bit on what they're about. So if you go to the next slide, first of all, we have to determine stages of drought condition, and we see there that we have stages 1 through 5. If you look at the fundamental benchmark for when we go into a stage, you're looking at percentage of capacity. That's only one of about 4 or 5 different benchmarks that may be needed to go into a drought contingency stage. 80% of capacity is considered mild, a mild water shortage, if you would. Number 2, stage 2 is if we reach 85%. And remember that all of these have to be reached for 5 consecutive days before we go to that stage. And by the way, to get to drop out of the stage, we have to get a lower number for 5 consecutive days. It's not based on, one piece of popcorn popping up on us. So 90% is severe. That's stage 3. Stage 4 is 95% of capacity. That's pretty serious. Considered critical. And then stage 5, the worst one of all, is 97.5% of capacity. And there are other things that can happen to cause stage 5 to have to be called in. Some kind of catastrophic thing. If we lost power for the whole area and we were running only on generators, if the water was contaminated, all of those things, you go immediately to stage 5. And it's in the plan. And then stage 5 is considered emergency condition. Some of the triggers that will get us into a stage, we've already talked about percentage of production capacity. Reservoir capacity, that's in the drought contingency plan. I think it was added in the amendments last year. Equipment failures that would result in us losing the targeted amount of capacity. That could be a pipeline, or it could be failure of a major pump station. I don't even like to think about some of the things that would cause this, like burning up a switchgear for a whole pump station. That would be a problem. A widespread electrical failure, inadequate supply from CRWA, and I've already mentioned contamination, so we'll go to the next one. I've got a cheat sheet here. I hope I'm allowed to do that. Okay, and some of the other things that were mentioned are underlined here. Supply side measures, those are measures that we can take, the city of Amarillo as the supplier. We can take certain measures to ameliorate, if to use a big word, anyway, one of my favorite words, the condition, to try to make it less of a threat. Demand side measures are things that we can monitor and even mandate under certain circumstances on the user side of it. What can we ask you to do to help us from your perspective as a consumer? Notification procedures that have to be in there. A press release went out. That was not all that happened when we went to stage 1. Had to notify our wholesale customers, certified mail. We have 3 wholesale customers, City of Canyon being the biggest one of all. And we have 2 others, and we did contact them. We did send them the letters, but I also contacted them by phone on the same day that we sent the letters. So they got the phone contact as well. We're required to notify TCEQ within 90 days that we have gone into a stage. And then finally, we are supposed to notify any of our commercial or industrial customers that may be affected by the stage. And with stage 1, that's probably not an issue. But in stages 3, 4, and 5, most certainly, that can become an issue. How do we enforce it? Well, stage 1 is voluntary, so there is really no enforcement. We just ask people to help us out, and people at Amarillo seem to be doing that on a delayed basis, but it's happening. But when you get to stage 2, you get into some mandatory measures. You go to odd, even, mandatory in that case. You go into stage 3, you go odd, even, mandatory, and you tighten the time during which the water can be used, and then you add some other things to it. I won't bore you by going into all those details. Trust me, there's a lot of details on stages 3, 4, and 5. Most especially on stage 5, because that authorizes the director, of course, and the mayor to take away allocation from industry and commerce if necessary. It's severe, and we don't ever want to go there. But the code, the city code, 18.2, 18-2, I guess it is, city code defines the water conservation issue and speaks to different types of infractions. Ordinance 1-1.5 talks about enforcement. You know, what kinds of penalties can be assessed and so on like that. That's all in there for people to read. And again, that would be only in mandatory cases. I believe that was the last of the slides. You see any more over there? Oh, really? Give them to me. Oh, yeah, of course. I just didn't copy that last one. My apologies. Exceptions to the rule. Can there be exceptions to the rule? Yes, there can in very limited cases. Public input, we seek public input anytime we amend or revise the DCP. And it's in the form of a hearing, a public hearing. And that rolls into your resolution for any changes to revision or amendment to the DCP. Ongoing public education, as you know, we have a conservation team headed by Mr. Frigo in the city. We have our conservation web portion of the website. We have a lot of outreach venues. We go to the civic center. We go give talks to the civic clubs and so on. We will, any chance that we get, and I would even put on a water droplet suit if it would help, but so far I haven't had to do that. Don't go there, right? And media exposure. We, you may not know it, but sometimes I'm a camera hound, but no, we like to get the word out. We appreciate their help. And coordination with the water planning group is mandated. That is the Region A Panhandle Water Planning Group. Got another one? All right, that's the one I was looking for. Do you have any questions for me, or does anyone have any questions for me?
Mr. Autry, the reservoir really is a great insurance tool for us to protect the city's ability to supply water, is it not?
Yes, sir, it's vital. Right now, if we didn't have that reservoir, we'd have real issues.
But it also, to me, presents the quandary that we are really trying to get people to conserve water, and its ability to have production backup precludes us going to stage 2 like our sister city has had to recently.
That's a very good point, and I was asked a question earlier today about that. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to speak to it. When when you look at a percentage of capacity and you have less capacity than another entity, then your percentage is going to hit faster. And we just happen to have at this time a good level of capacity, which allows us to go right up to 80 million gallons per day and not have to start thinking about, are we going to go into stage 1 or stage 2? Our capacity is very much in our favor with respect to whether or not we have to go to a stage. And the reservoir, we consider it a source, especially in the last couple of months of the season. In the earlier months, Mr. Atkinson and I have talked about this considerably, and we're still trying to come to a total agreement. We're not quite there. I know he's my boss, and I'm supposed to say yes, sir. But we don't have to keep it full all summer, but we have to keep it full for most of the summer. That's what I'm trying to say. It's an operational approach that we take, and I appreciate Mr. Atkinson's input because it keeps me from tripping over my own foot or something.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Just, because we can pull 92 million gallons out in a day, we're asking for trouble when we go, aren't we? When we go several days in a row pulling a lot of water out. It's
yes,
like running
yes,
a car. Just because my car can go 120 miles an hour doesn't mean I need to drive it all the way to Dallas at 120 miles an hour.
Right, that's correct.
Like
I think 2011 showed us the truth of that in the water system, because we did have to replace a lot of pumps and motors last year because we were running them 24/7. At points we were running, because we didn't have all of Potter County. We didn't have all of Potter County last year. That's a great advantage that we have this year because we have the full capacity and have had for some time. But you're right. I think even the NASCAR cars, I don't know how many total hours they run before they blow the engine up, but it's not a lot.
And we are also relying on the SPS to provide us power, and they're running at higher capacity because we use a tremendous amount of energy for those pump stations, correct?
Yes, indeed, and thank you for bringing that up, because I have a phrase that I use: energy is water and water is energy. Those two are intimately tied together, and if we use more water, they have to produce more energy. They ask us to cut back on our electrical usage. Well, the way we can do that is to cut back on our pumping rate or switch over to generators.
I also don't think we can talk about this too much. I urge the media in the room to talk about it a lot, because I know we're on voluntary, even odd days, but my neighbors don't seem to get it. I saw a lot of people watering on Saturday, and a lot of evens watering when they weren't supposed to, and odds doing days they weren't supposed to, and watering at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I feel like I wanted to knock doors.
The whole list. You just hit the whole list. Low humidity, high temperature, high winds are the worst evaporators around. And we have all of those right here in good old Amarillo, USA. We got them all. And we're a windier city than Chicago. They're number 11, we're number 4.
I think it's also important to note, though, last year the experience was we dropped our usage 8 to 9 million gallons a day with voluntary submittal to the watering.
Yes.
We know we can do better in that, though, based on, I think Commissioner Green is right about some people just aren't paying attention to it. So anything we can do to get the word out, you knocking on your neighbor's door and saying, hey, you got a broken sprinkler head, you stopping at a business or reporting it to the city, and understanding that while we have this production, we have no right to waste water. It's a limited, finite resource that we cannot waste.
I agree, Mayor. Any other questions? Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
We're gonna, if you'd stay tuned, we may have some questions for us.
I do need to make, thank you very much. I need to announce that the new public service announcements are going to be shown at this time. Did I say that right?
I think so.
All right. Thank you.
Now, as we're getting into these, we got a little ribbon last year about some of our commercials that we did. So we were thinking of maybe rating some of the commissioners, sort of like the Olympics where you hold up a score. So I hope you'll take that as yes.
Mayor, was it we used a collective kind of a royal
It's
we.
going to take me 20 years to figure out about how to wipe and close my hand. I didn't write that commercial, that is written.
It was written by an expert, is that correct?
You know, these are going to go out, and we've gotten great help
Do you
from...
know where our city's water goes? In the summer months, about half of our water usage goes into lawns and gardens. Help save our precious water resources and save on your water bill at the same time simply by watering more efficiently. You can use a rain sensor for your sprinkler system, water only between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And remember, if we're lucky enough to get a half inch of rain or more, don't water your lawn for at least 4 days.
Learn more by visiting Amarillo.gov.
You would be surprised how much every drop really does count, and you can help. As a part of the West Hills Neighborhood Association, I've been fortunate to be part of a program where we harvest rainwater from the roof of St. Peter's Episcopal Church to irrigate a community garden. It's a win-win for everyone. I encourage you to take a look at the sky to conserve water and take advantage of the city's rainwater harvesting rebate program. Be water wise. Remember, every drop counts.
20 inches of rain in a year. Xeriscaping is important to help ensure we have adequate drinking water for years to come. Xeriscaping uses drought-tolerant landscaping techniques like using native plants and watering more efficiently. With xeriscaping, you can reduce your water use and maintain a great yard that complements the region's natural beauty.
To learn more on how you can be water wise, visit Amarillo.gov and click on the Every Drop Counts logo.
Nothing tastes better than a glass of water. That's why I try to do my part with being water wise. You can help too. Don't cut the grass too short. Longer grass holds moisture better. Concrete doesn't grow, so don't water your driveway, the streets, or the sidewalks. And don't overwater. Find out what types of plants you have and how much water they really need.
To learn more, visit Amarillo.gov and click on the Every Drop Counts logo.
I love a lush green lawn, but I love the water that goes into it more. That's why we need to be water wise. Did you know that using drought-resistant plants in our lawns and gardens is one of the most effective steps we can take to ensure our water supply is sustainable for future generations?
To learn more about water-wise landscaping, visit Amarillo.gov and click on the Every Drop Counts logo.
We might be teasing a little about it, but it is very serious, and we got great compliance with voluntary compliance last year. We just hope everybody here in the media will continue to help us spread that message because it's critical. And I want to thank the media because we could not get that out without their help. They have done a great job supporting us, producing these, doing all these things. So we're very appreciative of that. Any other comments?
No.
Anybody else? Is there anyone from the public, please?
Kathy Altman, 2105 South Lipscomb. I realize a lot of this is common sense, but what are your press release sites? Because I don't know if y'all realize, but there's a lot of people that do not take the newspaper, they do not listen to the local news, and some don't even have a computer. So, I mean, especially if you go to a mandatory stage, how are you going to notify people, and then how are you going to enforce it if they go, I didn't know that?
Great questions. One of the reasons we hope we don't have to go to mandatory is what it does to staff levels and while they get diverted from their regular jobs to do enforcement. Mr. City Manager, would you delineate the answers to those, please?
Certainly. The press releases, when we have them, go to all of the local media outlets. That's radio, television, certainly the newspaper. It is a large list of where those go. They're also posted on the city's internet site. There's other outlets beyond those. I don't know what they are, but if you had some suggestions, we'd sure add them to them. Now, of course, whether a press release is run or not is up to the individual media outlet. As far as, if you went to a mandatory situation, and there's been a lot of cities that have, the problem with that becomes we're not going to go and add staff to do that. So at the point that our staff is out chasing that down, there's other things that they're not able to get to. So I'm going to echo the mayor's sentiments. I sure hope we don't get there.
But, just be aware that there are some people, some citizens that don't have any contact with any of these particular sources, any of these press sites.
You're right, Kathy. That's very true. Yes, sir.
Alan Flagel, 2601 North Grand Street. About 7 years ago, I suggested to the city that they create differential water rates so that the more water you used, the higher the rate would be. And because of drought conditions, I would like to suggest once again that you make a differential water rate between May 15th and September the 15th, that if a residence exceeds 10,000 gallons consumption, that the water rate for all gallons above 10,000 be increased by 50%, and that you set some kind of similar requirements for both commercial and industrial water use. Thank you.
Brian Gold, if you would just say, Mr. City Manager, have we not set in some sort of differential?
We have tiered rates.
We have a progressive block rate structure, so the more water that's used, the more it costs per 1,000 gallons. I think what Mr. Feingold is suggesting is not simply that, but then to have a multiplier that goes into effect for the summer months that would be above and beyond those rates.
I'd like somebody's comment and knowledgeable about the 10,000 number.
10,000 gallons a month would be practically no outside water in almost any home in Amarillo.
What do we use average, Mr. Roderick? Do you know off the top of your head?
Well, it's all amount, Mayor, but I could calculate an average. Give me a moment.
That's fine. I just think these suggestions are important for us to consider future dates about this, because we know we have great water supply. We know it's finite, and we have to deal with this a little differently than some cities that don't have a good supply and good production.
I'll say
We have a responsibility for living in this country to conserve our assets.
If I may, the average is going to be 20 to 30,000 gallons. We have a lot of customers, however, who use less than 10,000 gallons as well. But if you take the upper extremes and take an average, it's going to be 20 to 30,000 gallons. It would be my educated guess.
We got great compliance from the industrial users last year when you made, they were personally called and talked to about the, are we doing that again this year?
We did it in February this year, Mayor. We had we went and visited them all, and then we set up the top 10 water users conference, if you will, or gathering. We plan to do that again next year, but we plan to expand it to the top 20. And that'll be prior to going into next summer's demand months.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? I think we feel very confident that our city has given the right amount of water to supply to our residents, but we don't want to be overconfident about usage and complacent about waste. So we're really concerned about that. Everybody on this commission will listen to ideas, suggestions, and I will tell you that our staff is very concerned about it and has the same attitude as this commission has exhibited in the past. So if you have other ideas, we'd suggest you come to us afterwards, or we report back to you about these ideas that have come up, because we're very interested in strengthening this any way we can and conserving the use of our water. Any other comments from the commission? Excellent presentation, thank you. Okay, that concludes today's agenda for the meeting, for the Amarillo City Commission today. However, it's customary at this time to allow citizens of the community with matters pertaining to city policy, programs, or services to speak to the commission. And the floor is now open for such comments. Would anyone like to come forward, please? We'll just remind everybody there is a 3-minute limit on your time. You'd state your name and address. Thank you, sir.
Jonathan Hayes, 708 South Tennessee. I hate to take the emphasis away from water conservation because I know how important that is. And also, I think the ads that you guys have picked this year are 1,000 times better than the ones I saw last year. So I'm going to give you a hard time about the washing your clothes by hand. It's really good. But what I do want to talk to you about is the homeless, and more specifically the ordinance on camping. I think it's a horrible, inhumane law. I understand why it passed it, because of the Occupy movement and the things we did on City Hall. I think that willing to take full credibility or for full credit for being for failing in communicating perhaps to you guys what our intentions were when doing that, which was to make an exemption for homeless people. And now I find that they are more homeless than they were before. So here I am trying to make the situation right. I would ask you please to reconsider this law, because winter is coming and it could be life or death for these people. And I can tell you that, as a member of Occupy, it's pretty much gone in this town, so I don't think you really have to worry about that. Maybe you could put something in the law that was specific to activists and probably be the first arrested for doing such things, for civil disobedience and things like that, which was the intent of Occupy for Peace. But I do not like this picking on the homeless. I don't think it's right. If you want to pick on me, please do so. But anyway, I would please ask you to reconsider what you've done with this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else, please?
My name is Irma Hayes. I unfortunately live at 1604 South Harrison, and I guess I'm going to pick on the homeless. Last spring, our home was broken into, and many of my jewelry, all of my jewelry, my laptop were taken, and many of the things were not worth anything to anybody, but they were my memories from my husband buying me jewelry overseas as he traveled around the world while he served his country. The policemen that came told me they would be back, and I've been in fear. I live in fear. My house is on the corner of 16th and Harrison. I do not feel safe in my home. Well, last Wednesday, a woman came by our house and she was asking for some direction or something to my husband and told us that 3 of the historical homes that are on 15th and Harrison were going to be torn down. She lied to us and told us that she had bought those homes and needed help in taking something down, and my husband went and helped, and I said, I always wanted to see those houses, and I want to see what you're talking about. So I went with him, and the homes were shambles. The homeless had been living in them. Feces were everywhere. The smell was horrible. Those beautiful homes could have been saved, but instead were destroyed. We were trying to find out information, and instead my neighbor decided that she would call the police. She knew my husband. She knew him by name, gave the police my husband's name, what our truck looked like, and they hunted us down and stopped us after we had already gone home, changed our clothes, and we were going out for dinner. As a concerned citizen, I went in there to see for myself what was going on with those houses. We found out that First Baptist Church has bought those homes, so the next day, or the following Monday, we went in, I guess it was the next day, we went looking for information, and we kept being sent from one place to another, 4 different places. Nobody had any answers as to who does own it, where we can get information as to why these homes are just going to be destroyed. They could have been saved earlier, and maybe even now, these historical homes could be saved. Center City should have stepped up to the plate in some way. Somebody could have done something, because Amarillo, once it loses its beautiful old homes and buildings, to have things like ballparks and who knows what else downtown. Now we're going to have an empty parking lot as First Baptist continues, and I am a member of First Baptist, by the way, continues to tear down homes and buildings. We told them about the handlebar across the street from us, and before we knew it, that building was gone. Now it's an empty parking lot. There has to be some way of dealing with a homeless problem, because if we don't deal with it, they're going to continue to come into vacant homes, and they're going to continue to squat down, tear these homes down, make things very dangerous. I don't know if these are the same people that broke into my home to take my jewelry, to take my memories, to take something that I had. I never had fear living in Amarillo, and I have fear now. I cannot wait to move out of this town. I cannot wait at least to move out of the downtown area. I know the homeless need a place, but the policeman told me that I, as a victim, am the one that's going to have to look for my jewelry, because they were so short-handed that they cannot attend to my needs, that I, as a victim, have to go search for my things, because your money is not going for more police officers to take care of the homeless problem or to keep the citizens feeling safe in their town.
Ms. Harris, if I could stop you at that point, because your time is up.
Yes, I know my time is up.
Please visit with Vicki Tubby, I believe, afterwards, because we'd like to hear more about this, and we can get some more detail from you and try and help in some way.
We need to save them.
Well, there's many different complicated issues there, but if I could ask you to do that after the meeting, we'd appreciate it.
I would, but I will not meet in private with anybody. Whatever I say, I want it to be open.
We'd be happy to have her meet with you in some open area. If you want the press there, we don't mind that.
I don't mind that either.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment today? Yes, sir.
Alan Feigl, 2601 North Grand. I know that you're deliberating on the budget. I would just like to put in a request for sidewalks along Grand Street, basically between Northeast 24th and Northeast 3rd. The sidewalks there are intermittent. It's an industrial area, and walking in that area along Grand Street is quite dangerous. Also, I hope you would consider putting on some sidewalks along Coulter Street, between Amarillo Boulevard, elevated Route 66, and Interstate 40. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who would like to make a comment today, please? Welcome.
Carolyn Thornton, 1947 South Mars. Wendy and I asked today, when was it when that ordinance was placed, which is that homeless people can camp, pitch their tents between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. And I didn't realize it, but it was June 5th, 2012. It was June 5th of this year. And I've been up here and I've been talking about it. And I went ahead and I received some emails today. And I also spoke to Kelly Shaw as well. And the emails, I appreciate receiving them, I really do. The thing is that winter's coming. I've been saying this, and I understand what this lady was talking about, you know, that people are staying in the houses too, abandoning buildings. What's happened is, and I have mentioned this before, I mean, they're hiding out. They're anywhere they can. What ended up happening was their homes were taken away. People don't like it. I know they don't like it. They don't like homeless people being in the city limits. But they're Amarillo citizens, and they have a right to live here. And we don't have a right to say, you can't live in a tent. We do have a right to say, or you have a right to say, there's some rules that have to take place. And, I use the slogan, filth is just not an option. It's just not. But I also know, too, that you all, dropped the ball, too. And, you know, was living over here in the tents over here. The city allowed it to go on and on and on and on, where the filth just was dirty, and then it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I think, in my opinion, It should never, ever have to ever get to that level, ever. Anyways, in the emails that I received, it was pretty clear that I would have to, I'm looking into it, have to have all of these limitations like an RV park about foliage and drainage and a lot of things. And I'm going to look into this more, and I appreciate the emails that you sent to me. I was also told today too that there isn't an ordinance involving this camping business that I'm referring to, which is a piece of property where these people can go to before winter. It's just going to be crucial. There is going to be some terrible things that's going to happen. And just from my experience in being with the homeless in the winter time, talk about frostbite, just terrible things. But anyways, I just want to just say, I want to work with the city, and I appreciate the city working with me too. I do. And I just cannot emphasize enough. There is a way, I know there's a way, that there's a solution, that we can help these people before winter comes. I know there is. I don't know how, and my prayer is that we find a way. Thank you.
Ma'am, let me, if I may, Mayor, you realize that this ordinance addresses the fact that these people can't camp or pitch a tent on public property.
Yes,
If some landowner wants to let them camp and pitch their tents, that's fine. It's just public property, and that's to protect public property.
You're absolutely correct. But what I've been running into is that there's some people that wanted to go ahead and give property for them to go ahead and pitch their tents on. But they, according to what they're telling me, if you'd like, I can go ahead and get some names, things like that. They're afraid of repercussions from the city. That's what I'm receiving. It surprised me, but that's what I'm hearing. And I brought this up in a meeting before. That's what they're concerned about. So there is a real problem. There is a real issue. You're absolutely correct. It was just on public property from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. But what's ended up happening, the people went underground. They got rid of their tents. That was their homes. They got rid of them because they couldn't tote them around. And then it went on from that to, and then the few things that they had was stolen. You know, it's just, now they've gone into getting baskets, grocery baskets, putting them in.
Carolyn, I'm going to have to ask you, I mean, we have discussed this for week after week, and I just want to point out something that is important. When that removal took place, it was by the owner of the property, the railroad, and a trespass warrant was issued to move people off there, as I understood it, which had nothing to do with this new ordinance about camping. And so, as we said, it is okay to camp on private property. Now, there's other obvious concerns about camping or living on any property that deal with the zoning and the things required to live on any property, the ability to have sewage and other things that are in place. But we will talk to you individually about this afterwards. I don't mean to cut you off, but we are trying to hold it to 3 minutes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else, please? If not, I believe the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.